There are state laws banning the freedom to choose, criminalizing doctors, forcing survivors of rape and incest to leave their states to get the treatment they need. Many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom. My God, what freedom else would you take away? Look, it's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following, and with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power.
Reproductive rights was one of the many topics President Biden touched on during his third State of the Union address last night. The address comes just 8 months before the presidential election.
Biden is expected to square off against former President Donald Trump. Queen City News Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes joins us right now. And Khalif, reproductive rights, it was just one of the topics that was front and center last night, along with some other key takeaways that you have.
I can say that everyone expected him to come out and do the normal Joe Biden delivering a speech, and that is not what we got last night. We got energy, we got fire, we got a lot of pushback from the hecklers that were in the crowd. I mean, if you are a Democrat, you are feeling that he's giving you a new life on this race. And if you're a Republican, you're maybe stepping back some of those old and cognitive questions that you had, because he was everything on point last night. I mean, right on the spot, getting heckled about a border, about immigration. He answered it, went right back to his speech.
For over an hour.
It was, for me, it was not coming into that with him what he was going to say. It was how he was going to deliver it. And he brought fire, he brought power, he brought energy. And those are the things that you want from someone that's supposed to be the leader of this country. And so for me, that was something that was a positive, and I did not anticipate that at all.
One of the things that I just noticed when we were watching it together, the amount that he worked the room before and after. I mean, we've all done events on a low level, not like that. It takes a lot of energy out of you to greet the room, work the room, all that kind of stuff. I mean, he stayed after for a very long time.
And it took him a long time to get into the
room,
yeah.
You know, right. But age, you know, has been a factor in this whole campaign. And he addressed that last night. He even, actually want to point this out too, he even made Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina laugh before he brought up age. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the biggest thing with it is that him working the room is, if you know folks in the room, you're going to have more opportunity to work the room. He's been in D.C. for 50 years, and so he knows everyone in the room.
But I'm saying the energy it takes out of you at
Definitely.
that age, that they didn't whisk him off.
Yeah,
he stayed there and he really did work the room, which was pretty impressive.
Definitely. The portion of the room that I think that was the most important part is that he made sure he avoided that confrontation that Green was trying to do with him, to ensure passing him that button and try to make some confrontation. So he recognized, I can cut that off and still make my way down there. But that after you deliver something like that, he had the energy to still stay there. I think doubles down on the fact that this is not a guy that's not there, not able to have the energy to still lead this country.
And also border security was another hot topic last night that he touched upon, about passing the bipartisan bill that many of the had Congress and the senators had worked on.
I mean, when you watch these debates, these presidential State of the Union addresses, the biggest thing that I can take away is that it seems like we've lost our sense of decorum in politics. And so back in the day, you would watch this and then they would have their opportunity, the other side, to respond. But now it seems like folks want to have an opportunity to respond in the middle. I mean, probably the most recent time this started happening that I can remember was President Obama with the "you lie" comment. He's in the middle of talking. He didn't address it. He just kept going. Biden, in this case, actually addressed it head on. In terms of all of the points, I think the biggest takeaway, if I can look at anything, is when he addressed the Supreme Court, like right there in their face. We showed that snippet, but they're sitting maybe 2-3 rows in front of him. And so for me, that was the biggest takeaway. And then the rebuttal from the Republican side, if I can just touch on that for a quick second. It missed the mark. I think that they were calculated in their approach in terms of getting a woman to address some of the concerns and trying to pull in some of those votes. Having her in her house gives you the home approach, and I think that was an excellent approach, but it just didn't deliver. I think Johnson would have been a better person because he had poise. He had his poker face on during the whole speech, and then after he unloaded on the president, I think he should have just delivered the rebuttal, and he would have brought home more Republican votes and more maybe Democratic votes at the end.
Certainly sets up for quite an election campaign that's going to happen up until the November election for the next 8 months or so. All right, Khalif Rhodes, thanks.